The moment had arrived. She wished she had the courage to face him for it. "The gifted, the ones with the forward scouts, sent word. They found the rage." Teifa pointed to the horizon, past the slaughter, steeling herself. "They are nested in the central mountains, the ones dividing the peninsula, and one of the dragons has just given birth. There is a youngling, and I will form a coterie." "No," he said. "Not this, Teifa." She could hear his desperation. She would not let it sway her. "The savages. How can we make peace if we do this to them?" Siori said. But the argument wasn't enough to change her mind, and he must have sensed that. "We were only to follow them," he said. "If we use the dragons, we'll destroy this land. If we use the dragons, the call will find us." That sent a chill through her. Teifa was desperate to forget what they'd run from, and aware that, could she live 1,000 cycles, she never could. "Can you hold this land for me, my champion?" she asked, hating herself for making this seem his fault, his shortcoming. "I cannot." "Then," she said, turning to him, "the dragons will." Siori wouldn't meet her eyes. That was how much she'd hurt him, how much she'd disappointed him. "Only for a little while," she said, trying to bring him back to her. "Too little for the call to notice, and just long enough to survive." "Teifa." "A short while." She reached up and touched his face. "I swear it on my love for you." She needed him and felt fragile enough to break, but she was determined to see her people safe first. "Can you give us enough time for the coterie to do their work?" Siori took her hand and raised it to his lips. "You know I will." Champion Siori. Siori stared at the incomplete maps laid out on the command tent's only table. He tried to stand tall, wanting to project an image of strength for the military leaders with him, but he swayed slightly, a blade of grass in an imperceptible breeze. He needed rest and was unlikely to get it. It'd been 3 days since he'd last gone to the ships to see Teifa. He didn't want to think he was punishing her. He told himself he had to be here, where the fighting was thickest. She wanted him to hold the beach and push into the territory beyond it, and that was what he was doing. The last of the 2,500 ships had arrived, and every woman, man, and child who was left of the Chosen was now on this hostile land. Most of the ships had been scavenged for resources, broken to pieces, so the Omehi could survive. There would be no retreat. Losing against the savages would mean the end of his people, and that Siori could not permit. The last few days had been filled with fighting, but his soldiers had beaten back the natives. More than that, Siori had taken the beach, pushed into the tree line, and marched the bulk of his army deeper into the peninsula. He couldn't hold the ground he'd taken, but he'd given her time. He'd done as the Queen had asked. Still, he couldn't pretend he wasn't angry with her. He loved Teifa, the goddess knew he did, but she was playing a suicidal game. Capturing the peninsula with dragons wouldn't mean much if they brought the cull down on themselves. "Champion!" An Ndlovu soldier entered the command tent, taking Siori from his thoughts. "Major Ojore is being overrun. He's asking for reinforcements." "Tell him to hold." Siori knew the young soldier wanted to say more. He didn't give him the chance. "Tell Major Ojore to hold." "Yes, champion." Harun spat some of the kala leaf he was always chewing. "He can't hold," the colonel told Siori and the rest of the assembled Guardian Council. The men were huddled in their makeshift tent beyond the beach. They were off the hot sands and sheltered by the desiccated trees that bordered them. "He's out of arrows. It's all that kept the savages off him, and goddess knows the wood in this forsaken land is too brittle to make more." Siori looked over his shoulder at the barrel-chested colonel. Harun was standing close enough for him to smell the man's sour breath. Returning his attention to the hand-drawn maps their scouts had made of the peninsula.